Hey, what is up guys? So Raven here, welcome to another review of the trade paperback, and today I'm going to try something a bit different. We're not going to go page by page, and I think it's going to be the thing here with trade paperbacks especially, that going page by page that would make a 40, 50, an hour long videos, which doesn't really make sense, where this is not a story, this is just a review. So bear with me, we're gonna try something new, and if it's good, we're gonna keep it up, because I've recorded like page by page and I just really I was not satisfied with how it turned out. So today we're gonna be talking about the Justice League. Yes, this is a Polish Liga Sprawiedliwości, that's how it is in Polish. Graveyard of the Gods volume number. And this is a volume number. Graveyard of the Gods, it's a volume number 2. And here's, of course, the beautiful spine right here. And it's been written by the Scott Snyder and James Tynion the fourth. And one thing, to know before we're gonna get into, about those two authors. The Justice League separately is actually written by the Scott Snyder, because we have the Justice League from number 8 to 12 in here. But there are two specials. There is a Aquaman special number 1 and Justice League special number 1, and those two are actually written by James Tynion. So they're not like they're co-writing it, they're just doing two separate things, but it all comes down here beautifully. There are various artists. Here we've got, of course, Francis Manapul and Howard Porter listed, but there are various artists as the book goes. And honestly, this is a trade paperback that's how he looks in the back. There we go. Right, as I said, it has issues from 8 of Justice League to number 12, because we finished the last time at 7, and the two special 2 annuals about Aquaman. Why those 2 annuals? Well, because this is the book that focuses on the story of Aquaman a bit, and I must admit, this is the book that, especially Scott Snyder is an artist that, a writer I should say, that makes me care about characters that I had no interest in. Like, if you look at, I didn't really read Justice League, right? And the reason to it is, I don't really care that much about Wonder Woman. Superman I just dislike, right? Because he's this, he's just the superhero, right? Like, I just don't like that. Aquaman, again, I thought he was just talking, to fishes. He's Aquaman, right? And there are a few other characters that I really never cared about, like, John Jones, right, the Martian Manhunter, the new Green Lantern, like, they were cool, but not enough. And in the previous volume, actually, I started caring about those characters, right? I started, finding a nice bond with them as Snyder actually enrolled the story, especially with those 3 that I just said, right? John Jones, we've got the new Green Lantern, like those characters, but also you're like kind of sympathetic with still with the Batman, Superman. You kind of like, yeah, you can like Superman. It's not a bad character if it's well written. But also, it came the same way for me as to the villains, right? We got here Legion of Doom, which is Black Manta, of course, Cheetah, Grodd, Lex Luthor, and the Joker. And again, I do read few Flash comic books, but Grodd was never right my alley, right? Like, if I hear Grodd, like, to me, it was like, yeah, he was from animated series, and also in this, DC Universe Online. First battle, that you do, that's what it was, right? And Cheetah, never read anything with her until here, so I had no bond with those characters whatsoever. But, well, the first 2 books, right, the No Justice, more of the Justice League volume number 1, kind of made me care about those, and this is a perfect continuation of that. You can tell that there is going to be a Batman who laughs, but there's nothing like that. There's no scene like that. But now, after reading it, when I look at the cover, it's like, yeah, it does make sense. It gives you a few hints. So how's the story? Well, the story picks up where we left off. So we know that totality is actually in the hands of the Justice League. Batman's legs, hands are broken. He is, well, not a broken man, but definitely he is not capable of fighting. But on the other hand, we learn at the end of the first volume two things. One, that there was a Starman that came and said you have to sacrifice, to the Justice League. He said you have to sacrifice 3 members to know what's happening. And this is something that if you haven't read the previous volume, or like the issue number 7, you're never gonna find in this book. Like, this book, there's like what, more than 100 pages. Do not mention it, right? And it does not mention it, which is a quite, for me, clever writing, because after reading it, I realized that those words at the end of that volume number 1 or issue number 7 really mattered, and it moving forward, because I'm still, trying to start reading volume number 3, might impact even more, right? It's not like, they're going, like, yeah, we're going to sacrifice you. No, it's not happening. And also, on the other hand, we learned that at the end of the previous volume that, Lex Luthor was talking to the Batman Who Laughs. And that's kind of where the story picks off here. So, of course, we've got, Lex Luthor talking to... I'm just going to put it on my lap for a second. Talking to Batman Who Laughs. And the Batman Who Laughs just tells him, listen, you are not, imprisoning me here. There's just not like this is happening. I am a Batman. And he just shows him that he has, on his tongue the way, like this little needle that will help him escape. It's like, I just want to be here, but listen, you're weak, you have your plans, you kind of figure out what it's all about, but you don't know everything. There is a reason that there was this whole barrier that broke during the DCML event, right, that was protecting our multiverse. And it was holding one big threat. Of course, Luthor is like, oh, what threat? What threat? It was like, okay, listen, I'm going to tell you, right? That's what Laugh says. It's like, I'm going to tell you, but you're gonna free me. But no worries, like, I'm gonna do my thing, you're gonna do your thing. We're not gonna do stuff together. You just you don't have to trust me. Trust is for fools. Let's just do that. He goes like, okay, sure. And we learned that there is this big threat behind of course, this wall that broke, right? This wall that broke, right? Into our multiverse, and it's called Perpetua. We know only that she's female as of right now in this book, which again, we know this is a whole build up to the Death Metal, and knowing that in the Metal that is one of the threats, it's really cool that, again, planting those seeds. And I think this series, especially like those 2 trade paperbacks, show me that they're just planting seeds, and if you're paying attention to little details, you're really going to be rewarded for it, and that is really, really interesting to me, and I like that. On the other hand, of course, we've got few story arcs happening, just few smaller ones and one big as well. So the small ones are definitely, you can name them, Superman putting back together a moon, which is done in a really clever way, that again, I'm not going to spoil that. That is one story arc, and then the story of the Justice League is kind of split into three is not a bad thing. 3 separate groups, or 3 separate things. So one, we've got the story of the Batman and the Jarro. Yes, Jarro. So we learned that there was a part of Starro that kind of, Batman kept, and he's keeping that small Starro in a jar, so it's a Jarro to him, right? So we've got Batman protecting totality and navigating everything through Hall of Justice. Then there are 2 other stories, and I said that they're gonna make me care about it, and at the beginning I said I do not really care about Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and this is the book that kind of makes me care, because the main story arc of the story is revolving around those two. So we got this team right here. Jones, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern. They're away on their own mission. That's going to be volume number 3. And we got Superman and Flash with Mera. Like, we can add those, right, with Mera. That's the 3rd team. So we got that. We learned that Cheetah now has a special power and a special claws that can kill gods. So what they do, they go and they find Poseidon and they kill him. Like, literally murder Poseidon, burn his, burn his lighthouse, everything goes down crumbling, and he, with a last breath, he calls, right? He has this call for help. And with this call for help, unfortunately, because again, it's Poseidon, right? Something happens. Unfortunately, no, it's not. I almost messed it up. So, Aquaman hears this call for help. So he and Wonder Woman, they found, this little ship, and there's an Arion, right? There's this guy Arion that fought this big war in the past, that won, and maybe he's gonna have any answers to what happened to our Poseidon. But in the meantime, we've got Cheetah actually breaking and releasing 3 gods of the oceans from Graveyard of the Gods. That's why the title, right? Because everything is around ocean, around Graveyard of the Gods, and those gods are pissed off. And as we have, the scene where finally the Wonder Woman and Aquaman find that ship of Arion, there's a big kraken coming, attacking them, and it turns out that they can actually, whenever this kraken touches you, or later on the water that this kraken produces, you turn into kind of like a weird fish type of thing, which is, I'm going to just find it right here, because there's nothing that is going to tell, let me just see that little thing, like for example, here we go, right? Like, this is this little fish, this little Jim Gordon right here, right? Like right there, this is this little thing that you're gonna get turned into. So those 3 gods are pissed. They have their own kraken right now, and that's where the main arc comes first. Now we know they want to flood the whole Earth. They've, with all their armies, they've locked down the Earth, right? Nothing can come from space to help the Earth. The Earth is getting flooded. The Kraken is producing the water. The water goes up, and as, again, the water goes up, this water actually turns everything it touches into this fish thing. Wonder Woman gets separated with the Aquaman. Aquaman gets, kidnapped by those 3 gods. Wonder Woman, just finds herself drifting away. She finds her own ship. Small one, just a small, we can call it boat, not a ship, like boat, right? Boat, it's a great thing. And then we cut off to what is happening, right? So we know Metropolis has fallen, Gotham has fallen. There was no help for Gotham, there's no help for many things, for many cities, and the Flash and the Superman are the 2 right there helping people, because they are, well, one of the last superheroes that there is contact with, right? Because again, we've got some in space, Aquaman kidnapped, Wonder Woman, well, no contact with her, Batman kind of broken, so he can't really do a lot of things, the Teen Titans and everything, they're trying to help, but it's just sometimes not enough. But the main arc is, of course, the team of Superman and the Flash. And after a few minutes, we finally got the scene where the Superman is fighting one of the gods, and this is where I started to actually like Superman, because the god literally just grabs him by the neck and almost kills him with no ease. It's like, like Undertaker when he was like about to chokeslam you, like literally that. And I was like, yes, you can kill Superman. That is amazing. Like, I was really happy about it, because it just shows that he's not, I'm gonna do everything type of guy, and not gonna get hurt. Like, he can actually get hurt. He can be killed, so he has to be careful, especially with those 3 new gods. And as he's about to fall into water, Flash catches him, because Flash, of course, he's walking so fast, he's running so fast that he can't walk in water, but a bit of water just touches him, like splashes him here onto his face. So we're gonna have this little transformation as the rest of the story goes on. So we now know that the Earth is slowly falling, that Kraken is actually putting that water in. But what's happening underwater? Of course, we've got I would say Themyscira. We've got Atlantis, and Atlantis is falling as well. Mera tries her best, but learns that the only way to actually defeat those gods is to get Arion's the drop of death, which if you put it into water, everything dies, right? So it's opposed to the drop of life. So Mera goes on that quest, and the last moment she finds herself teaming up with Flash and Superman, right? So that is the team right there. Of course, Legion of Doom at this point is not doing a lot. We have some few back and forth stories where how the Joker was introduced to the team, how he got into a team, and there's not a lot of planning on their side. We have a bit more of talk with the Batman Who Laughs, and we learn that one of the deals in between Lex Luthor and the Joker was to never include or to never free Batman Who Laughs, because Joker says, Batman is a Batman, I'm not gonna work with him, right? So again, it does make sense, right? Joker do not trust any version of a Batman, even though it's one of the most evil thing on the planet, or in the multiverse, or in our multiverse, right? In the regular one, not the dark. Yeah, we can also say that, right? But we know the Joker got betrayed, and he's pissed off. But this is the story that kind of develops for the later. Now we're going back to the main arc again, and we have this transition to those three gods actually talking to Aquaman, telling him the story like, hey, listen, we've been in the graveyard of the gods for the last eons, and that's Poseidon who did that. That's it's BS. Earth must die, right? We were watching everything. We were watching Earth. We were watching all those planets, just die. The waters die, and now you're gonna watch. And we have this cool scene, this cool panels where Aquaman is just watching how everything on Earth gets transformed, and slowly dies. And then all of a sudden Black Manta shows up and fights Aquaman just to reveal that, well, he's kind of working with those three gods, and they stripped Aquaman out of his powers and put those powers into Black Manta. So now we have Aquaman actually with no powers, with nothing. A really, really cool thing. So of course we know how it goes, right? The Mera gets to do I want to spoil that? That's a different question. The Mera gets to the drop of Arion, that's the name, of Arion, finds it, battles it out with the Black Manta, because it turns out that Black Manta was already there and he found everything, but the drop was something different than they all thought. It was not really the drop in the first place. Of course, we've got this nice kind of move forward where Aquaman is thrown into the grave of the gods, and Wonder Woman comes to his aid. They go in, and Poseidon actually helps them out because he's the only god there in the grave of the gods. The whole story arc, the main one, especially those little small moments that are talking about Aquaman's past and how he's drifting, how he has no place on Earth, how he wants to see new oceans but there's just nothing new, just really makes you care about the character, and I like that. Of course, I'm on purpose not saying what happens after he's getting saved, because this is something that I really want you to read and to see. That's the last issue, and I think I'm not gonna always say what is at the very end of all the issues, because I don't think there is again, Not that there's no point, but at the same time, I think you're just gonna miss out on this great story, especially the ending, that made me feel something right here in my chest, and it was, it was a good feeling. So, what are the ups and downs of this book? Definitely, the up is the art. The art is good, even though it can be inconsistent because you're also reading those specials. It kind of holds up, certain levels. So you're gonna get a good art. The story, again, if you're enjoying Batman, you're gonna laugh almost every time Batman does something. Like he's coming, to Lex Luthor and just says like, "Hey, this is Hall of Justice, where Batman kicked your ass, and the Batman had broken legs and arms." Like just super fun things, and the idea that you can actually just eliminate certain elements of the Justice. So like you eliminate 3 characters, and you just focus on the other ones, and then you have another volume that focuses on those 3. It's really cool because you build up, right? You build up those characters. One thing that I really didn't like, and I think it's a big downer, is this fast transition in between. Maybe like there are 2 things. So fast transition of Lex Luthor and the Joker being okay to just being at each other, right? And this kind of like battle, and the ending of that in between them, like that is something I wish would done differently, and it was just not satisfying. I just I read and I was like, I mean, it's a Joker kind of thing to do, but on the other hand, like, why? There was like no, maybe there is a hidden sense to it, but there's, at the time of reading, there's like no. Other thing is either the fact that you still have this conversation with Batman Who Laughs with Luthor when he's still chained. There's not much Batman Who Laughs in this book itself. You're not gonna see him anywhere. So also that was kind of a downside. I thought we were gonna see him plotting with the gods, or we're gonna see him plotting something, but he's just not there. Also, Starman, yeah, you kind of have his backstory, right? You kind of learn why. Like you don't learn why, but you learn what happened to him, kind of, and that totality already kind of hit him for one reason or another. But it's not really touched upon. Like it's there, but it doesn't matter. I said about this little seed about the sacrifice, and I think it is gonna matter within volume number 3 and 4. But if that would be, because I don't remember if it's annual, like it's monthly or 2 times a month. But I believe Justice League is monthly. So for that, I think doing the story arc that goes like issue number 7, and then at issue number 12 you kind of have a throwback to that issue number 7. That's almost a year, like half a year still. It is quite long, and you can miss on that sometimes. And if you were reading issue by issue as they were coming out, you could have missed those little moments because there are still other comics you want to read. But again, it gives this you can go and read it, right? Replayability, you might see from video games. So it's really interesting that. And I think the biggest purpose of this book was they made me care about Aquaman. And at the end of the book, I was really so into Aquaman that, yeah, it made me feel something here. And that's just, I think whenever we read something and we have emotions, that's just a good writing. Besides anger, because sometimes you can have, like... Again, I've watched so many things with Tom King right now, like his interviews, and he seems like a really nice guy, but he butchered Batman. Sorry, dude. So, like his storytelling butchered that, because he's like not really consistent in that. So, what I think about this whole trade paperback, I think it's a solid trade paperback for someone who read the previous, because on its own, getting the volume number 2, but for a discount, get it. But be prepared that you're not really gonna know, right, certain things why they happened. So you must read at least the first volume. You don't have to really read that, no justice, but you better do. But you must read the volume number 1 to get why the things are happening here. And if you are a fan of Marvel, that may not be kind of a book for you. That's true. You have to be a fan of the characters that are inside that book. Either those are villains or those are the heroes. And once you're a fan of at least one character, you're gonna find something for yourself. If you're not a fan of any of the characters inside, you're not a fan of Justice League, is this going to change your mind? I think yes, after you read the volume number 1. After you read the volume number 1, volume number 2 can be like, hey, you know what, I want to collect the Justice League. I think it's a great story. But you know that it leads to the death metal, and that also kind of, is in your... Because we now know that, right? When they were doing that, we didn't know, but now we know that it's leading to the death metal. And in the back of your head, it's like, oh, that might be important, right? Like, the mentioning of Perpetua, that's going to be important, right? The sacrifice, the few other things, they are going to be important. So I think for that, for all of it, and for what it is, it gives you a lot of pages for not a big price. I'm gonna give it a solid 8. I know I'm giving a lot of 8s on this channel, but again, those are good books, and you cannot go wrong with Snyder and Tynion, right? So yeah, like if you want lower notes, just you can watch the Batman reviews. So I think this kind of like more me talking instead of going like page by page type of review. Was a bit better. I hope so, and we're gonna like maybe transform it into into that, or maybe just more talking and more what is the ups and downs of the books. So again, I'm still learning that, right? So that's a learning curve. There we go. So yeah, solid 8. I think it's a solid book on its own. If that would be on its own, if there would be no number 1, that would be a 6. But when you read the number 1, you're gonna really enjoy the book. So thank you guys so much for watching this review of the Justice League Graveyard of the Gods. I don't know when we're gonna do the volume number 3. I have it. I kind of started reading it, but I don't know if I'm gonna finish it. There's like so many stuff right now coming. Right, we got even today, the Thors are coming. What else? There's Assassin's Creed comic, Batman 100, 101, Batman 102. King Black, right, is coming. The Heroes are not ready for it, so there's just big events. So I think I'm gonna stop with the Justice League for now, and I'm gonna go to that, and then we're gonna come back after, maybe with the Future State, or when everything kind of slows down. We're gonna go back to Death Metal as the other 3 paperbacks from Death Metal kind of goes on shelf. So thank you guys so much. Goodbye. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and yeah, check this book out. It's really good. Take care. Bye.